I promise to do all in my power to see us through this safely, every last one of us.
For so many games, the ability to choose doesn't matter. Choice isn't an impactful ability or mechanic. It's a shallow effect to trick the player into thinking what they say matters. It's all just simple dialogue choices that lead all to the same path, no matter what you do. For me, triangle strategy is different. It's worth delving into than almost any other RPG I've played in a while. Its ability to make you care about the choices you make, no matter the circumstances, is a rare quality, not seen much these days. It's far from perfect, but the themes it portrays and how that excels in proclaiming the choice, and the lack thereof, affects the impacts on ourselves and the stories we play. Today, I would like to talk about choice in games, mostly within triangle strategy, and how that affects the way we feel, why and how we react to the stories and themes a narrative might express, and finally, why choice ultimately matters. What even is triangle strategy? It's a tactics RPG with the blend of a visual novel. If you don't know what a tactics RPG is, let me explain briefly. Think of it like a board game. Two opposing sides with a magnitude of options and strategies you can take to defeat your opponent. This is mostly the core of how tactics RPGs play. It's a very brief overview, but think of it as some kind of weird version of chess. The bread and butter of this game is most definitely the story, the visual novel-like aspect. It's incredibly dialogue heavy, with almost the first 3-ish hours having almost nothing to do with the actual gameplay besides the investigative parts placed throughout. The investigative scenarios are usually placed after a heavy dialogue scene. You mostly explore the local area for any clues, with the occasional talking to people to gain insight about the world itself and local politics, gaining nuggets of information that may or may not be helpful in the future. You really do feel the weight of your actions throughout the story. There are severe consequences being held over your head. It becomes a battle for yourself more than anything. That is about all I can say without ruining what makes this game such a great experience. It is best played without any knowledge or spoilers beforehand. There's even a free demo for the first 3-ish hours that can give you a good taste of what the game is. Think it more like a visual novel and you'll enjoy your time a lot more than not. The gameplay is super fun, but it is spaced out heavily at times. But if you already play this game, or you just don't care, let's finally get into this. The story is simple and complex, but thoughtful, deeply political within this fragile world. The conflict with yourself, the different groups grasping for control, and the slow collapse of everything. Glenbrook is your home, a nation built upon the traditional feudal system, a king at the top, the nobility, and the poor commoners. You work through this kingdom the most, trying to strive towards saving the kingdom from ruin. Asfrost, a cold nation built upon the strong, opportunity over everything, beautiful and harsh in equal measure. A great power biding their time, foreboding a clash that will fundamentally change everything. Hyzant is the enigma, a nation ruled by their religion, a nation built upon the sanctity of all who live under their goddess. No one wants for anything, but there's something else that lurks beyond the surface. A facade that is well hidden and will shake its core. You are but the son of the Lord of House Warfort, a powerful noble house within Glenbrook, and in the last Great War, they are feared and respected in both natures. Working to grant ever more lasting peace between these turbulent nations through a grand ordeal, a mine, simple but effective, in combining the strengths of everyone in this combined endeavor. A shaky sign of unity, togetherness, that deeply wanted hope of peace. But you aren't the main character. You are important, but the story isn't focused on you. Instead, 3 different characters, Frederica, Benedict, and Roland, take the stage. Frederica coming from the rigid and cold north of Esfrost, pushing to free her people, the Roselia, people of pink hair, crucified throughout the continent and put to work within the state of Hyzant to atone for their crimes as a people. A truly abhorrent idea to Frederica, one she wishes to push to do what is right to free her people.
The time has come, Serenoa. The Roselle must be freed.
Benedict being your own father's steward and later your own, a utilitarian man who thinks of the logical and reasonable approach, close confidant and one you can always trust to do what is right for you and the future of your house.
Just know that I will do anything you ask of me, Lord Serenoa. I pray that you make the right choice, not only for House Wolfort, but for yourself.
Roland, the future king, the prince never meant to be, someone pushed to wield a throne he never wanted, pushed to extreme circumstances, doing what is right, no matter the circumstances caused upon him.
Being king is not just a matter of lineage. A king must hold fast to his ideals and be a beacon of hope to his people.
Each is incredibly stark and similar in their own right, offering a thesis on this game. A story about convictions, about what you deem is right, pushing through all your obstacles, no matter the cost. All about radicalization, that push further down paths unknown when nothing else matters, becoming blind to other people, becoming deaf to other ideas, becoming nothing but what you stand for. Triangle Strategy is about the system of radicalization. A story with themes and concepts like these only makes sense to push those ideas and self-reflection to the player. This is your power to choose within this game, to force the player into contemplating their ideas and determine what is the best course. Triangle Strategy does all of this magnificently, at the same time taking away your power as the player. You are part of a band of likewise allies and friends out there to survive through this ever increasingly perilous world. So when a choice comes up, a branching decision demanding your attention, it's not as simple as selecting option A or B. It's more of a group decision. You are the leader of this group, but you don't take control. It's more of a communal setting where everyone has a say, a vote on what path is right. That doesn't mean you are left useless, nothing more than a mere spectator. Much more so, you are the deliberator, one who listens, decides, and convinces. You aren't powerless. In truth, your power lies within your ability to convince, to get your disagreeing allies to side with you, getting them to apart from their previous ideals or their overall uncertainty about the situation. I really don't think I've ever seen a game do something like this before, giving the player power and taking that away at the same time, in such a weird but interesting and unique way. This is the Scales of Conviction. Scales of Conviction is the name for this mechanic, the dynamic between scaling options, a scale of different convictions. Convictions have mostly 3 different meanings in this game particularly: utility, a path of logic; self-preservation takes precedence, taking the most correct and certainty of winning option; morality, path of honor, usually being associated with righteousness and justice; freedom, a path of free will, direct choices, being honest and straightforward with how you think. Each of these ideas have merits and downsides. That is the whole idea of the conviction system. Each choice follows these fundamental concepts between each of these 3 convictions. Morality versus utility. Do you try to protect the innocent by blowing up a bridge to the central castle, or do you blow up the local dam to take out the garrison army efficiently but risk the people you swore to protect? Each comes from a very understandable position, taking the path of lesser destruction for the innocents, but a higher risk of prolonging the battle. Or do you take the path of assured success at the risk of innocence? These aren't just random choices you come up with. It's from your allies, your friends, pushing forward their ideals, mainly Frederica, Roland, and Benedict, and most each comes with their path forward, but not too far gone to understand when they are wrong, still able to see and hear the differences. Let's delve into one of the early examples of this mechanic. Esfrost has just invaded Glenbrook's capital, a fast strike that gives you little time to determine a viable strategy to withhold their upcoming assault on your lands. With one of the last remaining threats to the newly formed rule, the Prince of Glenbrook, Roland, is still alive, fleeing with you back home to Warfort. You're left at a crossroads. You stand tall against the invasion and become a bulwark against an ever-encroaching army, taking the fight to them to protect Roland and your homeland in a more likely destructive battle, saving your independence and the right of Roland's safety. Are you willing to place this man's life over the life of the innocent people that might be succumbed to this conflict? Or do you take a different route, one that is more calculating but cold? Surrender Roland to the enemy, take the life of one man to save the needs of the many, your duty to your friend or your duty to the people? What is right? It's always this uncertainty that creeps in that gives us these fears. The fear of the unknown, the fear of regret. These powerful emotions make us doubt our actions. At the same time, giving weight behind your actions, these choices, having much more meaningful consequences within yourself. Choice in many games will always have this aura of falsehood. It is just purely the nature of game development. The weight behind choices isn't the amount or the depth of the choice. It's important, but it's all about the emotions you feel. The emotion it invokes is that all important ingredient. The epitome of choice usually comes down to endings. When you have the ability to pick how you want to conclude the game, that is one of the most meaningful choices you can make. Triangle Strategy is nothing less than that. While many games I feel like fall into this trap of making a singular ending the true or correct option, in turn making each of the other endings feel wasted. And unfortunately, Triangle Strategy does fall down that rabbit hole a bit, but I think it does it for much more meaningful reasons while not completely diminishing the other endings. There are 3 main endings, and akin to a true ending, the so-called golden ending. The 3 main endings follow each of the main characters and their linked conviction by the end of the game. They do actively switch their convictions throughout the game. A nice twist that shows their continually different perspectives at the beginning of the game becoming more twisted, turning into what they become by the end. The freedom ending follows Benedict, coming from this pragmatic and logical focused person, twisting his ideas to become more forthright, taking such actions as to become more free-spirited about what is right, forcing his path of saving House Wolford at all costs, deciding that the goals of Hyzant are so against the survival of his own house that working with your former enemy becomes the greater option. As the old saying goes, the enemy of your enemy is your friend. Taking this combined strength to destroy Hyzant and create a new kingdom with you at the helm, the height of House Wolford.
All Norzelia could be yours if you but desired it.
Treason, if not outright regicide. These are your suggestions.
Frederica looks distraught as the people's lives have changed, but barely, mostly being freed from the shackles, prejudice forever changing their lives, while their struggles take a back seat to a slowly crumbling society. Roland takes stark disagreement with such an idea. The people who killed his entire family and destroyed your kingdom for nothing more than greed? It makes no sense. It's not something Roland can at all agree with.
Serenoa Wolfort, I challenge you to a duel.
Seems it was me, dear brother.
Leaving after the decision is made, teaming up with Hyzantians to act as a dissenting group within this new kingdom. The friendship crumbles as Roland fights for his beliefs. This last act of radicalization. The morality ending follows Frederica, who has lived in Asphost for her entire life, so in turn is a lot more of a free-spirited person. As she sees more of the conditions of her people, she believes that it becomes the right thing to save her people at all costs, tackling the mighty power of Hyzant, the small group as they find the way to get out alive, finally leaving the oppression of her people to find freedom, taking all that pain of suffering that comes from taking such an option to save people from their oppressive lives. Roland agrees. Saving people has always been on the forefront of his mind, as the newly crowned distinguished king of Glenbrook, removing himself from that role to take action as a liberator, freeing people and giving them life born anew. Benedict is furious. Such an action takes away the responsibility given to them, the power to protect his house and the kingdom itself. He sees this as a foolish idea, to push so much away, the power to save Glenbrook and House Wolford thrown all away for some foolish gamble.
I beg you to reconsider. If you mean to proceed with this folly, then you will do so over my dead body.
Ha!
Causing him to move to his original plan of working with Asphost to continue the fight against Hyzant all by himself. The last of House Wolford, the final destination of radicalization. The utility ending, the path of Roland. Starting as this idealistic, moralist person who takes great care about the people, this becomes more and more twisted into this very pragmatic view of what is best for said people. This leads him to joining sides with Hyzant, taking drastic action to protect and give life to the common people. Through the actions of the Hyzantian government, the people want for nothing, all in service of their goddess, abdicating his throne and giving all power to Hyzant, believing it to be a righteous cause for the common man. Benedict, while not in full agreement, understands that this will further his house. His ultimate objective was fulfilled. However, under the oppression of another government, there was a feeling of loss in what could have been. Frederica, understandably, is completely against such an idea. To side with the monsters that have oppressed your people to sate their own greed, it's abhorrent and completely goes against everything she has ever stood for.
I will defend my people's right to live, and so challenge you to a duel. May my powers be enough to make you see the light. Ah! You simply charge through everything. don't you?
Leaving immediately after such a decision was made, and disgust that such an option was even taken seriously to begin with. Becoming a prophet, the mad lady on the corner of the street, preaching about the horrors and lies of the Church of Hyzan, overpowering force of all the lives in Nozelia, a more path of radicalization. Each of these endings is filled with that depression clashed with that gleam of hopefulness on the horizon. Each one carries a deep loss, a dear friend and comrade, one that has walked down this path you have walked, fighting against your own ideals. These closely knit bonds become detached, broken. It is all but a path filled with despair, yet ever moving forward to create something better. Giving life to the people through a powerful and corrupt bureaucracy, or giving them freedom, but all the crushing power that comes from that. Or taking power into your own hands and throwing away all you knew to save a truly oppressed people. Each symbolizes the epitome of the three convictions. Each is important, but incredibly flawed by itself. But what if? What if that could all change? Triangle strategy does something that should honestly be done much more, making each ending mean something, but at the same time making the power of the golden ending mean so much more from the perspectives of the previous endings. But at first, I was against this idea of a golden ending in this game. It felt counter to the idea of making incredibly hard decisions in a world where no option is correct, a harsh reality we must all accept. Each decision comes with its harsh regrets, but we must push forward to create something better, something new from the clutches of the old. But working through to get to that golden ending, something hit. The power of this game has finally made sense to me. It's all about the power of unity. Moving the idea of compromise that spreads throughout this game, such an idea pushed away two friends and comrades. Frederica leaving after her people became a point of compromise, being pushed away for Roland's greater goal. This game instead says you can have it all, taking strides to improve the circumstances that shackle us, and moving forward together given what we all need. Each ending represents the power of each representative conviction, but the theme of this game is that life is more than just one ideal. The power of multiple convictions and the power of taking it all in. A triangle. The name of the game means something more than it just might seem. Think of each conviction as a point aligned on a plane. Each point is alone and is nothing more than a singular point, forming nothing. We connect them together, symbolizing the power of unity between each of the convictions. A shape is formed, and a new idea is formed from each sole point. A triangle setting forth a whole new path. It's not just a singular path of conviction, it's a route of changing beliefs, switching from a utility path to one of freedom to morality. This path is a culmination, the culmination of becoming all the convictions. You don't always take the right choice, you must take the tough choice at times. For example, taking illegal goods across your lands to Azeroth to keep yourself safe and to further your own goals. Or risking the safety of Roland to gamble the trust of Farag, the Prime Minister of Azeroth, who has many grumbles with Gustavov, the leader. This is why this ending is incredibly hard to achieve on just a blind playthrough, and mostly requires a whole new game to achieve. That's why I implored you to play this game blind if you haven't already. The themes and the way choices, paths, and everything laid out is to show you the power of radicalization, of being blind by the system that feels so overpowering that we can't see anything else. You will never know that taking different paths, becoming more than just one ideal, is the path of true ideological unity, of true choice. A path of morality, a path of utility, a path of freedom. Yet a new path opens up, not from any of your allies that have been at the forefront of each of the branching paths. It's you. You are the catalyst for this new path. Not anyone but yourself. You start to see the cracks in the friendship, the creeping of a fate that will fundamentally change your lives forever. Seeing the illusion set forth, one that has blinded everyone from a path of true freedom. A path of unity, not beholden to any singular conviction. You become the embodiment of unity, a triangle of convictions. You stop everyone in their tracks before anything becomes final. You exclaim that something is wrong here. Something must change. This isn't right. You leave where everyone has calmed down after your speech. One of the first times you start to command a room is to finally take action into your own hands. You ponder hard on all that has happened in your long and perilous journey. Garnering all the knowledge you have accumulated, you must pick the course of action.
Nay, I mustn't give in so readily. There must be another way. One that will bind us together, not tear us asunder. Now then, to find it. I have it. I've found a way to give everyone what they want most in one fell swoop. The salt crystals will belong to all and not just a privileged few. The people of Norzelia will finally be lords and ladies of their own making, masters of their own destinies. Benedict's fervent desire to protect the domain's integrity, Roland's yearning for equity, Frederica's resolve to free her people. I hear you all, my friends. You're not alone, nor are the countless others who look to me at this late hour. If ever there were a time to heed my father's last words, it is now. I must forge my own path and lead my people. The scales cannot save us this time. The words of my closest confidants have revealed a way forward that the scales never could. All that remains is to convince them to follow me down the path I have made. As Lord of House Wolford, I solemnly swear an oath by which all future lords shall be bound. I will never turn my back on the promise of a better world.
As you continue down this path, you finally figure it out. Through all your hard work and the work of everyone in your group, you finally take action with your own hands and forge a new path, taking all the wants and needs of Frederica, Benedict, and Roland and creating something that works. As the radicalizations peaked, becoming blind to other options, and pushed forward even though these bonds would snap under the pressure. They realized the fault of their ideals, what their plans didn't account for, or they didn't understand the weight of what was being lost. Each of their wants become realized with this plan, and each different group takes charge, pushing for their ideals and the ideals of everyone else. Benedict's regiment takes charge, defending against the mighty force of Hyzant, pushing towards the Grand Minds to take control of the thing that would destroy their nation's core, taking the fight to them instead of running off to Aspharos, as Benedict once exclaimed. Roland's regiment rides to Aspharos to make a deal with his family's murderers. Svarog, the man you were supposed to meet, was imprisoned for his crimes of taking the illegal goods you sent to him. Roland then meets with his family's murderer and the man who calculated all these events that have caused so much pain and suffering, Gusadov. Understanding that without his help with the death nail, the only weapon that could defeat Hyzant, all they had worked for would have been for nothing. Not all works to plan, and drastic action must be taken to safeguard these plans. The death of Gusadov if needed, with his schemes finally coming to light and all crumbling before him.
We shall meet again before long, Uncle.
Frederica's regiment takes the fight to Hyzant, freeing the Roselia from their oppression, sneaking in through the guise of merchants to gain as much of an upper hand as possible, taking to the stand, preaching the truths of the world, that freedom is possible and the sins that were placed upon thee are falsehoods once and forevermore.
I should have known it was futile to resist.
Forgive us, goddess. It wasn't us that sinned. No, it wasn't. And it never has been. The Rizal are guilty of not but wanting the same freedom as others. You have been deceived by the goddess's lies. If my strength of conviction is not plain enough through words, then let my actions speak for me.
After all these significant but personal fights for each of these main characters, we all come together to finally take control of our destiny. All that stands is the epitome of the lack of choice. Edor, the man behind the Byzantine state, proclaims that choice is a burden. The only choice for happiness is the elimination of choice. People are sad, pathetic creatures, burdened by having such uncertainty in their life. The only real solution is to remove such ideals, to create such absolute control that people's lives are forgone with such burdens.
For fools, thinking is tiresome, decisions terrifying. Reality breeds discontent. Freedom gives rise to greed. Free will creates doubt, and ideals of justice lead to conflict. Ridding people of these things is the only true path to happiness and peace. How can you not see that the people want to be controlled?
There is an interesting dichotomy that I feel alludes to how choice feels in games. Harking back to what I said in the beginning, many games that have choice make it feel illusionary. What you do or say doesn't matter in any real concept. In line with what Idor said, removing that sort of choice from the equation gives much more certainty and happiness in what is accomplished. There isn't this sense of doubt and anxiety about the path being chosen and what may or may not come. But this isn't how we should move forward, trying to remove our choice from ourselves. You then take the stand against the wishes of Idor, understanding that making mistakes and falling down is what gives people the chance to grow. Without that, we are stagnant, never changing in what we are.
That is not your decision to make. People err in judgment. There are times when our hearts cloud our eyes to the right path. Call it foolishness if you want, but we can learn from our mistakes. We can find others to walk a new path with us. Denying that means robbing the people of their chance to grow.
Changing the path of destiny is not a simple road. It has many twists and turns. The final battle with Idor is not one most would expect, to form himself into this godlike being, to take a stand against the ideals you have fought for. The greatest challenge you have faced, not just a simple man, but the pure culmination of the ante of what you believe in. The battle is hard and brutal, taking all you can muster to defeat the last obstacle in your way to create a better tomorrow for everyone. But you do it. Taking the last slash to the demigod Idor to dash all plans he had set in place. Sitting there, slowly succumbing to the power he has wrought, Idor proclaims that this tumultuous path you walk down will be filled with nothing but despair. Understanding this, Serenor counters.
I know. That is the fate of a leader of men. But I will never stop believing in people. I will walk beside them toward a better tomorrow.
I once believed in the same ideals. I prayed to the goddess endlessly for the people's salvation. But she never answered my prayers and the people remained fools. Only then did I realize the goddess did not exist. That I had to save my people by mine own hand.
Idor, why not put your faith in people once more?
You would forgive even me.
You must atone for your wrongs, of course. But after that, you would be free to walk a different path.
You naive fools.
What have you done?
I have activated the remaining Elfric in the palace. Soon, all will be reduced to dust.
But why?
Remember this, Serenoa Wolfort. Not everyone is like you. Humans will never be cured of their stupidity. No matter how much you love your fellow man, inevitably, he will betray you.
Be that as it may, I still choose to believe.
Then know this. The path you would walk will lead nowhere but despair. I will await you in hell.
That even though it may or may not be true, I will stand next to my fellow people hand in hand towards a better future, believing in them every step of the way. Finally, after so much pain and suffering, you create a world of unity, a symbol of convictions in unison, becoming de-radicalized by dismantling these ideas of forced decisions, of the idea being pushed down a singular path or ending, instead becoming more than one, but all. Triangle Strategy is a strange game after all is said and done. It has this weird combination of having strange game design choices, plus some absolute genius sprinkled in there. Yet, it is one of the best games I've played. Other games are far and away better in where this game falters, but I've never seen a game succeed so far where so many fail. Choice is an incredibly difficult aspect to attain within game development. It's easy on paper, but it becomes increasingly more difficult as time progresses. But choice isn't about picking between opposing options and have each be incredibly different from each other. I thought that for a while myself when writing this out, but I think after finishing this game, I've come to realize that choice is something far greater than that. Having the medium express deep emotions within us, the illusion of choice will always exist, but choice isn't about that. It has and always will be about our reactivity to ourselves.